Welcome to East Meets West. Today, I have my special friend, Deeann Ali, who has worked in the fields of information technology, government, and Christian missions in Guyana and the Caribbean region, serving as director, head of special projects and events, trainer program, coordinator, counselor, administrator, and national and regional representative at various forums spanning her field of work before joining Haggai International as a director. So Deeann is well-rounded, and I know she have a lot to add to us today that we're going to learn from her. I do encourage you to have your pen, your paper ready, take some notes, and also reflect on some of the things as she will share her leadership journey, things that she had to learn, things that can benefit us as leaders. So Deeann, thank you so much for giving this time to add value to all of us today, and we do appreciate you stepping out and doing this program here, and I'm looking forward so much for learning from you. So thank you, Deeann. Do you want to add anything to maybe what I just said about you?
Thank you so much, Shanti. Indeed, it's a pleasure to be here with you this today. And I trust that whatever is said will help to empower anyone and to help to make and shape leaders. Shanti, I know you have your share of leadership experiences as well. And one of the things I do want to add is that in all of these spheres that I've worked in, I've also done it as a married woman, as a working mother of young kids. And my kids still live with me. So even in all that I will share, I will also talk about what it means to be a working woman and a woman in leadership and a woman with additional responsibilities also in leadership. So that's all I would like to add at this point, and hopefully we see and discover some more things as we go on.
I love this part. Yes, we are women, and the part of being a mother and running with all these different things, it's amazing. And I love, when women can share their experience, because we do have many women out there who, their self-esteem is so low, and some of them believe that they're not able or can't do certain things. And so I know for you, your life will be a great challenge to everyone who will be listening on this here, even in coming days, that the recording will be there, that people can share it and listen back. And so I do want to, the women especially also out there to know that you can do this. You whatever it is that you might think is so hard, or think that you can't manage, that you can do it. Deeann and myself can do it. You can do it. We are just ordinary people. So Deeann, let me stop talking. Tell me, what was the first thing you would like to share on about this leadership journey for you?
One of the things I've learned, I've been in leadership positions in one capacity or another for over 20 years, whether it's in Christian ministry or secular, just professionally, it's over 20 years. And one of the most important lessons that I've learned, Shanti, I think this is my topmost lesson, is that leaders show up. You show up regardless. Leaders don't have the luxury of hiding when things get tough. It's easy for us to show up when things are going great, when there's a party, when we're having success, when the company is doing well. But it's leadership really comes when the challenges arise, when things are not going so well. And that is when you see the real test of leadership. So leaders show up. And there are three areas I want to stress on. Leaders show up in their responsibility, meaning you take responsibility for whatever is assigned to you. Sometimes we have what we like to call square pegs in round holes. I see you shaking your head, right? So we're all familiar with some of the what we don't do. So I want to focus on what we do, right? We take responsibility for what is assigned to us. We take responsibility for the work. I'm not saying that we don't delegate. Delegation is a whole other subject. And yes, leaders delegate. But I'm talking about not throwing off your work. So, for example, you lead, you offer praise to others, and you raise others up. But you also cover your people, meaning we are all familiar with this throw someone under the bus. That's a no-no for leadership. Leaders take responsibility. You have a team under you, that is your team. You're responsible for them. You're responsible for delivering the results. So we show up in responsibility. That's the first one. And the second is leaders show up in attitude. Leaders don't have the luxury of having too many bad days, Shanti. Yep. We have to show up. You don't get to walk around with a frown on your face just because you had a bad start at home or famous traffic. My girl, my girls don't like to drive with me because I am not, I don't have the best attitude in the traffic. And I think if anyone follows me on my Facebook page, they would hear me ranting and raving about the traffic from time to time. So, but we don't get to walk around with a frown just because we had a bad start. We show up in our attitude. We're responsible for setting the tone of our environment, setting the atmosphere and the culture. If you don't like how your team is operating or you don't like the culture in your office, then take a look at yourself. It is the leader that sets the tone for these things around them. And the last thing is that leaders show up in presence, meaning you keep yourself sharp. Your appearance matters, your openness matters, your smile matters. You show up in your presence. Those are the three things I learned. The top lesson, leaders show up. What do you think, Shanti? I know you have leadership experience in various areas.
So I love these three aspects that you brought out, and especially on responsibility. I see that many leaders, in the organization, you might have managers, you have supervisors, and in these different areas, you find people will just blame. If something didn't happen, if the results didn't come, they blame the team. It's they didn't do something. And when you talk about responsibility, this is something I really would like people to sink into their minds, that it is on you. Whatever goes down in your department, in your organization, it is on you as the leader. What have you done? And many times I do ask people to ask themselves this question: did you do everything in your power to help, to ensure, to monitor, to whatever it is that you could have done so that you would get the results? Right? And many times the answer to that is no. There was always something else that they could have done that they didn't do. So taking responsibility, it's not about blaming or making excuse or even, shaming yourself. It is about you taking all necessary precautions, I would say, to ensure that things are done, and not blaming the people that are working with you. And I love the attitude, indeed. I love that you said we set the tone as leaders, because indeed, if I come in and I can't even say good morning to everyone, or I can't even smile to them, then the rest of the day, then people might think, oh, I can't speak to her. She's in a bad mood, or he's not. Don't go and approach him for whatever. But indeed, it's as leaders, whatever's going on inside here, I do believe that you should get someone to talk about it. Maybe get your coach or your mentor, whoever, so that you also work on your side of it. So when you show up and you deliver, you show up as the person that everybody is looking to follow you. And if you're there, you're present, you're there, in mind, you're there, that people understand and know that, well, this is somebody I can follow, right? And
Abs-
so I love that. So what else do you have?
Of course, I'm sure persons may be wondering if I've hit it all the time. No, I've not hit it all the time. That's why I can tell you these are lessons learned. Some of them were learned the hard way from experience. So that's the first and foremost lesson that I've learned. Leaders, you got to show up. And the second is, I started my introduction by saying that I'm a working mother, a married woman, and I throughout most of my leadership life and almost most of my work life, I've been married with kids. So the next very most important lesson I've learned is that leaders know a work-life balance. I can see you shaking your head because I think all of your viewers know that you're a mom as well, a working mom, right? So we have to have our work-life balance in place. And this is one that I had to learn. I had to learn some very hard lessons about. So the one of the things that leaders need to learn is that it's important to set boundaries. You've got to set that boundary between this is work and this is not work. When they begin to bleed into each other, it becomes a bit complicated. It begins to pull your spouse or your significant other, and then it begins to pull your children into your workplace. Now, am I saying that they must remain exclusive? No, it's impossible to have an exclusive uh, division between your work and your life. Because there have been times when I've had to take my kids to office, and some of my coworkers graciously agreed to babysit while I had to tend to a meeting. And I've done it for my coworkers as well. And then some of your coworkers become your friends. You spend so many hours together. You become close. You become like a second family to each other. But the important thing is to recognize that there must be boundaries set. It for you to efficiently discharge your duties as a leader, especially when it comes to the not so nice parts of pulling someone up, holding someone accountable. These relationships, these tasks become complicated if you're unable to separate your work responsibilities from your friend responsibilities, you know? So it's important to have that understanding of what is work and what is not work. It's really important. Maintaining that balance is very key to having a successful role as leader in your environment. And it's also important in work-life balance. It's important to have some downtime. So, in addition to setting boundaries, you gotta set some time for having some me time. You know, we neglect the importance of just focusing on ourselves. When we say downtime, in some regards, we're okay with having family time. We even are okay with having our friends time, but we sometimes forget to have the me time, the alone time to just shut off. And I could tell you, some persons may say, well, it's easier for the introvert to have alone time, but extroverts, they love people. I could tell you could ask anyone who knows me. I am an extreme extrovert. I've toned down over the years, but I am an extreme extrovert. And even I have to find that time to have some alone time, to disengage, to turn off my phone and my electronic devices and just have some cool alone time. A lot of us, sometimes we use a lot of activities to escape ourselves because we don't want to spend some quiet time. But for a leader to be able to show up and be present in the moment and to handle all that responsibility that's thrown at them, you must be able to be comfortable with yourself and to be able to be alone with your thoughts and to process your thoughts. So work-life balance is extremely important. And the last thing, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Shanti.
No, no, I'm saying I totally agree with what you're saying. Even research shows, great leaders do take the time out to reflect. I honestly feel that sometimes, even for me, it seems like you're just going, 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 and it's like slow up to speed up. The saying say that you slow up to speed up, and so sometimes as leaders, I do believe that we need to slow down so that we can be able to go even further, going even faster. But slowing down to catch up with our thoughts, catch up with what's happening right now, reflecting what you've learned, what is going on, how can you analyze in a different level, I would say introspect, and the whole aspect of reflecting on what's happening right now in your life or what's been going on and being able to think it through in that aspect.
Yeah, it's extremely important. I think we met up for drinks just the other day and we were reminiscing on how long it's been that we caught up. And sometimes work takes a priority. And one of the reasons why I say, even when in downtime, sometimes we're okay with family and friends time. For working women, especially, we need that alone time. Because for us, yes, we have work, but then family is also another area of responsibility. And I love my family, obviously, but it's another area of responsibility. And I do love my friends. I love all of them. They know I just will go to the ends for my friends as well. But sometimes that's another area of responsibility for working women. We are constantly on the go. So especially I want to stress this for the women in leadership and working women. Take some time alone and just reset. Use that alone time to just shut down. Go to the mall by yourself. Go catch in a movie by yourself. Go meet up with someone, or just go sit and have a drink by yourself. Go do something. Go take a drive. Do something just to clear your mind. I love when a couple of years ago when I lived in the States for a while, I went and caught this is many years ago. People will know a bit of my age when they hear me say this stuff. When Star Wars, they remade Star Wars and had the premiere in the cinemas. This is many years ago. I did it by myself. My friends wanted to go, but I decided to take in one of the shows by myself, a premiere, and I had such a blast. So don't be afraid to do things by yourself. So it's something. It's a valuable lesson that I have learned.
For me, yeah, it's as you're speaking, I thought of what do I do by myself, and what I really love for me that gives me peace, gives me this calmness, is to actually sit on the seawalls in Guyana and see the ocean and the waves, the whole idea of the water just give me a calming. And for me too, it's like sitting there and having a conversation with God just helps me to decompress, and it's just like I get refueled and ready to go again.
Absolutely.
Sometimes for me, I just go park the vehicle and face it to the seawalls, and just take in the whole scene of the ocean. And that's for me my quiet time, what I foresee from myself, that and what I actually do. Sometimes I do imagine myself at a lake, and the the water, and just myself and this really nice atmosphere. And so when I can't physically go, I go there in my mind.
It sounds really peaceful and tranquil.
Yeah.
It's important to have that alone time. to meditate, to spend time with God, to introspect, and to help to process all that's happening around you, you know. The last thing I want to say under the work-life balance is that it's also important to continue to pursue your studies, your interests, and your hobbies. Sometimes we get so busy, especially with working women. I do want to say this. Sometimes we focus on everything else and we're so busy with our family that we push off our studies and our hobbies. Someone once challenged me. He said, you could have pursued another degree while rocking a baby. But at the time when we're in it, sometimes we don't see the possibilities. But I in turn encouraged another friend of mine to go ahead. Well, her baby was quite small, and she was asking if she should continue her law study. And I said, go do it. The time will pass. I was able to pass that on because I had neglected that. So I was able to encourage her, and she did it. So it's important for us not to drop ourselves. I mean, I'm not saying I had a bad life. I had a blast, so, but I'm just saying, don't neglect your studies. Continue to pursue, even if it's a course on Coursera or one of these other areas, one of these free platforms that are available. It's these small, short courses. It helps to keep you sharp, and it helps to keep you on your toes, and it broadens your horizon, and allows you to keep in the moment as a leader. So work-life balance, Shanti, is so important.
Yeah, and as you were speaking there, I think of many of the women, especially as you're talking about kids, and society have placed it in such a way that the women, our role is to be the caretaker, to be for the kids, especially on their side, that we are the ones responsible. And because of that, like your friend asking, should I continue? And there are people that would label mothers like us who want to continue studying, still have kids, or want to work or something, that you get labeled that no, you should not. As a good mother, you should stay home. You should look after your kids. That's your place. That's your role here. And that part of it also get to the psyche of women, especially mothers. And these are some of the things that also they face, that would not allow them mentally to come out of that block and say, you know what, I can still do this. I could still be a mother, and a good mother, and or a good wife, and still pursue a degree, or pursue any study, or whatever it is, some self-development aspect that you want to do. And so I want to just add this part here, especially for our women viewers here, that don't use your kids or your spouse or anyone, as a matter of fact, as an excuse as to why you're not able to do more or do better in your life. Don't use that as an excuse. And I'm saying that because for 12 years for me too, I felt that I did not do anything in my life. And I thought, okay, the kids are there, my focus should be there only. And I put a hold on many aspects of my life too. And when I learned, and as I grow and mature, I understand that wasn't their fault. That's not on them, that's on me.
Yes.
If I was mentally strong enough to withstand and go through, the pregnancy, go through all of the sleepless nights, and still push, that you can do it. And I know you can do it, because I did do it with my third daughter, studying and working and having her. And yes, and you talk about also your passion in doing things that you love doing. And for me was, I wanted to learn how to play the violin so bad. And yes, I knew to play the piano. And as I started class, I used to take her in my car, in her car seat, and she sat right next to me in my class as I'm playing. And I could recall my teacher was telling that, she's gonna develop really good ear sound. She was just what, maybe 6 months or 8 months or so. I just tell because every time I used to take her to my class because there's no one to keep her. But I'm saying don't use it as an excuse. Don't use that, oh, I have a child to take care. I have this to do. I have that to do. Yes, we all have a lot to do. But what you want to do, that you make the effort and the time, but don't ever blame the kids or anyone as to why you're not where you would have liked to be today.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Women are stronger than we think. I've had a lot of persons who encourage me along the way. And there are some missed opportunities that I've had, which is why I could speak from my experience and encourage others to see that yes, it was possible. And I do have friends who have done it through they've done amazing feats while having their kids. So it is possible. So I just want to encourage all of our ladies out there, to just push through the barriers that seem to want to limit women. I know this is leadership, and we're talking about leadership in general. But there's a special place, obviously, in our hearts for women in leadership because we know of the additional challenges that women have when they are in leadership positions, especially.
Deeann, is there any other aspect that you would like to share with us before we close this program today?
Definitely. The third lesson, and one that's very important that I learned as well, and it's one of by no means less important than the other two. It's very significant, is that leaders know when to let go and move on. And that is that we could do a whole other segment on just by itself. But just to quickly, let's wrap that up. Leaders know how to empower the people under them, to have a succession plan in place, to cultivate leaders and to grow leaders, to mentor those are under them, to see that a new breed of leadership and leaders arise. It's if you begin to become fearful about holding on to your position, then you will begin to make mistakes as a leader. You'll begin to alienate people. You'll begin to not want to give praise when praise is due. You'll want to begin to keep opportunities and throw blame. And we've covered these early on when I say that leaders show up and they go to bat for their team. So leaders know when it's time to move on. And the last thing is that leaders, under knowing when to let go, is that leaders create opportunities. Leaders are by nature creators. We forge new ground. We forge opportunities. So if you as a leader, you're not working yourself out of your position or creating new opportunities for yourself, I would say maybe take an assessment, take a step back and take an assessment of you and your life and to see if you need to sharpen yourself somewhere. Because we as leaders, we're called to expand, we're called to create, we're called to raise up, we're called to empower. And after we raise and empower, those persons must have somewhere to go. And it may very well be in the position that I had. So I've been so blessed over the years to raise up so many persons under me and to work myself out of positions many times over. And it's a joy to see how persons have been able to step in and to step up to the challenge. So leaders know, I would say this as a challenge to everyone that's watching. Know when to let go and know when to move on. There's always the time to let go and move on. No one is in a position for life. We all have to stand before our maker one day, Shanti, whether we like it or not. So I want to encourage all our leaders not to be afraid to empower others and not to be afraid to step out and create new opportunities.
So indeed, getting out your comfort zone, getting out that, there's something else. And I do believe, I love everything that you said there about letting go, in that as leaders, you know, it's not about holding on to your position, your power, your whatever it is. And we see that play out so much in different parts, in the world, especially in Guyana, all over. We're seeing that where instead of leaders, how can I empower this other group here? How can I empower this generation? How can I empower so that they're capable of continuing this journey to continue, achieving things on their own, or as a team now coming up without you. And how to not take the reward or the benefit, the recognition, whatever it is, that it's not about you. And how can I help others? And it starts with you saying that, giving yourself a time frame. By this time here, I want to work myself out of this position. And where do I see myself next? And where do I see myself next? So there's always something to pull you, or something to strive towards, than just feeling stuck here. And I was reading something the other day, and it said that if you want to, shift an organization, change the leader. I know that might sound very hard for some people to take in, but sometimes we become complacent being in one place too long. And instead of we growing, instead of we inspiring and taking, our team to a next level, if we ourselves are not growing like that, how can you pull them to a next level? So it's always about, when do I let go? When do I give them enough, power? And because you train them well, you invest into them so that you can let them go now. And one aspect too that I found is that sometimes why we don't let go is because we scared that they would fail. We scared that they're going to cost us. And so instead, we hold on, we still watch over, we still look. And it also have a lot to do with you having competent people also around you. And so that also come back to you in selecting the right people to be on your team. So that's a whole long conversation on
Yes,
team
absolutely.
aspect now. But as a leader, there's so many aspects that you need to take into consideration as a leader. We need to understand what is our role here, and that we're playing that role there and playing it really well too. And so learning, keep growing, knowing what, and I always said this to others too, is that if you don't know, go and learn. Maybe you're not good at team building, you're not good at communication, you're not good at delegating maybe, or planning, or organizing, whatever it is. Go learn so that you get better in these areas, so that when your team interact with you, they know they have somebody that got their back. They know they have somebody who is thinking ahead, who's seeing before them, who know where they're going, and they want to follow you. Then you seem to be all over the place. So knowing when to let go, it's not about you holding on, it's about you, what's next. What's next for you? And if you have not think about what's next, where do you see yourself in the next year? Where should you be? And if you're going to be there, who's going to be in your position?
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right. I really, and Shanti, let me say this, that uh, the things that we're talking about, I've worked internationally, all around the Caribbean, and with international teams. And I can tell you that the things that we're talking about here, they're not just specific to Guyana, it's all over. These principles are generic, and they are important for both men and women, and it matters for leaders in every sphere of leadership. And yes, I'm talking about Christian leadership as well. Sometimes that is one of the areas where we fail the most to have our balance or separate our time between what is our own personal time and what is time for others. So uh, the it's leadership is so important. I will encourage everyone as well. There are some great books out there. I mean, John Maxwell, obviously, I've read so many of his books, and I have so many of them in my library. And Stephen Covey is a tried and true author, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there's so many other leadership books out there. I would encourage persons to, like you said, just dig in and read and get yourself sharp and prepare yourself to be a better leader. You owe it to the persons that are under you and the persons who you are raising.
Definitely that. It is such a good advice to others. And I, whatever it is that is keeping you from not reading, and especially, Deann and myself understand the importance of sharpening the saw, according to Stephen Covey. It's how do you keep learning and keep growing so that you could keep adding value to your team. The day that you stop learning, your team is going to cap out at your level as a leader. And that is the part that many leaders are not, being cognizant about, that, what's happening here, it's on me because I have stopped growing. I don't have anything else to add to this team. And it's our responsibility to keep learning, keep growing. I am not talking about going and get some degree or something. That there's so many, as Deann said, about books that you can read to keep improving yourself. Some small courses that you can take that will help you in some areas that to build your skills in. But that part of it as leaders is constant and never ending improvement for me, that we keep raising the bar for ourselves first, and then raise the bar for your team too, so that you keep improving, you keep growing, you keep learning. Your organization also become a learning organization where people are constantly improving in some area or the other. So Deann, I want to say thank you so much. You have added so many nuggets, for all of us here today, that we can take back and examine, am I taking responsibility? How am I showing up as a leader? Do I have work-life balance, or am I stressed out? Am I frustrated because some aspect of my life is not in balance, or what is going on? So that sit down and reflect on these things that Deanna had shared with us, and also to look to see if you're holding on to the position that you're in, and how do you plan to step out, how do you plan to put someone else there, so and grooming that person so that you can move into other areas and be more impactful, right, in areas that you might not even be dreaming about yet that you're capable of doing. So stop selling yourself short or small here, and look at all the things that you actually can be able to do, and the impact you can create in this world. And I said the world because the world has become very small. Even through this small program we just had, we are actually able to hit the entire world with this couple minutes that we are on this. So how can you impact beyond just where you're at right now? So Deann, any last remark before we close off this session?
I just want to encourage all leaders out there to just keep pushing it. Be careful of the voices that you're listening to. Encourage yourself. Know your worth. Once you show up, just continue showing up and believing in yourself and going to bat for your team. It will work out. Many times we
Can you hear me, Deeann? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I'm
Yes.
so sorry. I think something went off here, but I didn't get to hear your part. I hear you say go back for the team. So I love that. But continue from there. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just encouraging our leaders to show up, just continue to show up. Because many times I was saying that we have leaders often are targets for negative comments and negative thoughts because you are the leader. But I want you to take some time to encourage yourself and to continue to show up. Show up for your jobs, show up for your people, show up for the what you have to deliver, and keep that positive attitude and just continue to raise up and to create opportunities. Continue to go for it. Leaders are very special people.
Well said. And I take your challenge too. So, Deeann, thank you again for being part of this. Thank you for taking the time out. We do look forward to you joining us at the next time and share, more of your journey as you go on. I know you are exposed to many things and, real things that we as leaders need to learn, need to hear, how others are also facing some of these challenges, or how they create things and make things happen. We love to hear from you again, and I will invite you next day that you can share a little bit more on your leadership journey with us. So please do share this video. I know there are many people who need to learn the things that Deeann has taught us here today. And comment, maybe share some aspect of what you take away from today's session in the comment. And we look forward for you to join us in the next session on East Meets West.